Chevrolets dominated Michigan Sunday, Hendrick engines in particular, with 6 of the top 8 finishers running them under the hood. But who knew 2 of those drivers were at odds and that Greg Biffle was the most embarrassed he's ever been inside a race car? It's as real as a reality show can get, says Bernsey. I like it. We call it radioactive.
On a spectacular Father's Day here at Michigan International Speedway, we're getting ready for a fast afternoon of racing.
Get ready to rock and roll today, pal.
Hendrick and his team have won 5 times this season.
Get after it, guys.
This has been a very good racetrack for Roush Racing. I wouldn't totally count out the Roush cars for possibly a victory here today.
Have a good day here today. Jack's backyard, Ford's backyard. Copy that.
Kevin Harvick on the pole, Jeff Gordon alongside, and we are green.
Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson stack up. They're bouncing off one another.
The 48 and I got together off of 2.
41 basically tried to spin me out on the backstretch.
If you want, you can just take them out now and just get it over with.
Whoa, Brian Biffle's out of control.
You see that guy keep coming, it's fine. Going in the wall up high to 55. He's spinning down, coming down the hill right here. Back up. Caution's out.
And now he'll spin it nose first as everybody scatters to avoid.
No, what? No.
We got a lot of damage. Guys, yeah, we're scoring pretty good. How bad you got, bud? Pretty bad, whole right side. All right, Brian. Yeah, it's at 4, I'm all right. Sorry, guys.
The racetrack is incredibly slick right now for whatever reason.
Watch the 17, watch 17.
Whoa, trouble again. That's the rookie Kyle Larson.
Stay straight, good job.
Casey Kane also sideways.
Lock it down, lock it down, lock it down. Ain't hit anything, I got hit in the back. Other than that, I think I'm all right. Did you get any contact there?
From behind. How bad is it?
We'll be fine here. This may take a while like this. I think guys are starting to figure out these things are hard to drive in traffic.
Here comes Gordon flying around the outside to try to take the lead.
And all clear. All right, good work. Take care of it now. I'll keep it posted behind you. Tight both ends right now. Really bad 3 and 4. Feel it out. Wind's still kicking hard. We're getting big gusts right now. That wind is pretty stout. Definitely.
You see the flags here blowing from turns 1 and 2 and back down toward turns 3 and 4. The wind gust today at 19 miles per hour.
Definitely feel that wind. Wow. The wind's strong again. Oh yeah, I felt it. When that wind kicks up out, I'm a little bit tight through 3 and 4. Now I see why no one's passing. Man, there's a bunch of turbulence here.
How about these drivers that have won at Michigan that are all lap down? 4 wins for Greg Biffle. He's a lap down.
Pilot. Unbelievable. I've never been so embarrassed in my life. Come on, stay with it here, man. Front drive of the car is 4 flat tires. All right, that's far. Can I help either end out more than the other? All right, you're not going to fix it, so just do whatever.
Kyle Larson right now has got no rear bumper cover, but he's driving away in the 4th spot.
He's got to be loving the way that thing drives with that damn bumper cone. Yeah, I've been watching him all race. He's just slowly making his way back to the front. Can I get my bumper cut off so I can gain about 20 counts of downforce? Yeah, I wish. I'd do that the first pit stop if I could. Looks like you can't.
You can cross Michigan off the list.
That's it, baby. Happy Father's Day, Jimmy Johnson. You just won Michigan. Oh, yeah. About time, guys. Woo! Thank you, boys. Thank you. Chad, brilliant strategy, brother. Thanks, JJ. Great job, bud. Happy Father's Day to you. Really proud, pal. Really proud.
Heck yeah, buddy. You too, man. That was awesome. Finally got one here.
Awesome for Jimmy. For Greg Biffle, not so much. Jeff, we don't hear him speak like that often. In fact, since Jack Roush has been bringing 3 cars to Michigan, they haven't had a day like that since 1996.
No, I think Greg Biffle kind of summed it all up. And this is probably the way the whole organization feels. Like they were very much embarrassed. Anytime you run that bad in somebody's backyard, because I was trained by Junior Johnson. We used to run bad at North Wilkesboro. We get told the same thing by Flossie Johnson come Monday morning. So these guys, the cool thing is what I've been able to find out after that debacle at Michigan, they've really sat down, put their heads together, and Jack has told everybody, we're going to throw everything we can at it. We've been working at it very methodical. Now we're going to take big swings at it. We're going to get this problem turned around, because I think Jack understands he not only owns it to his sponsors, but to his drivers and his teams to get this thing fixed, and I believe they will. Just don't know how long it's going to take it, but they will get it fixed, and they'll get back up on top.
Trying to figure it all out, yeah, so Roush Fenway fans, be patient. Bernsey?
Danielle, that win for Jimmy Johnson, his 69th career win. Next up on the all-time wins list, Dale Earnhardt was 76. In the spirit of 76, we look at Dale Earnhardt's 69th win.
Here comes Hamilton right back.
Wow. Hamilton on the low side now, and he's got the lead back.
Look at Earnhardt right up under him right now. Now that'll loosen you.
Whoa! I guess.
That'll loosen you up. Hamilton to the wall.
Boy, he was lucky to save that car.
Wow. My goodness. We are under caution. Bobby Hamilton has just spun in turn number 2. There's Dale Earnhardt. He leads. Now it is out. Now it is out, and it has been taken by the leader, Dale Earnhardt. Checkered flag in the air for Dale Earnhardt.
At Michigan on what's going to be a very, very fast day of racing.
All right, guys. Go over all your equipment. Make sure everything's ready to go. Let's have some fun today. Boy, thank you, guys. Let's get a big thumbs up. Let's get ready to rock and roll today, pal. Oh, boys. 200 laps here. Got a lot going on. Let's get after it. We know we can do it. Yeah, sounds good. Get after it, guys.
Here comes the field down to the line. Green flag goes through the air.
Up front, it's Kevin Harvick.
We're by 224 by himself.
Whoa, Brian Becker's out of control.
Gathered up. Got one in the wall at 4. Everybody's still digging. Stay low. Coming back down. We're in it. We're in it. There you go, guys. Sorry. All right, Brian. Yeah, it's at 4. I'm all right. Sorry, guys.
One car slides up.
All right, lock it down. Lock it down. Watch him checking the front. Check up, check up, check up. Stay at the top. Stay at the top. Stay at the top. We just got a wreck, boys. Front's killed. Right side's killed. Ain't hit anything. I got hit in the back. So you might want to look at the bumper, but other than that, I think I'm all right.
Got the fin. Not too bad. Not too bad. We're going to have to come work on it.
I think guys are starting to figure out these things are hard to drive in traffic.
Kurt Busch goes way up the banking.
Sideways loose. Horrible loose on exit. Not sure what's up.
Jeff Gordon playing me in my shadow right now with the back bumper of the Kevin Harvick Chevrolet. He does it the hard way, driving around the outside of the pole sitter, Kevin Harvick.
And all clear. All right, good work. Take care of it now. I'll keep it posted behind you. And behind us is absolutely crushing us. Talk about Jimmy. Losing the back, and the front just terrible.
Extra 3-pole win.
Definitely feel that wind. Wow. Now I see why no one's passing. Man, there's a bunch of turbulence here. Biffle ahead, slow up top. He's struggling. He ain't the only one. I'm just terrible around cars, man.
Now we've got a change for the race lead.
Yeah, lap traffic playing a major role.
The leader? For the leader, brother. 215, 245, cab starting to smell and fill with a faint smoke. I don't know, man. It's be real weird. I've never felt anything like this before. I have no idea what it is, dude. What went wrong with 24 and 48? 24 is just as fast as you on clean racetrack by itself. Both of them say they're terrible on traffic. Go, 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 go. Go hard, 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 go hard. Good job, fellas. Good job, guys. We came out third. The 48 and the 22 just did one can. They're short on fuel. Just save us a little bit. We'll be fine. Joel Forrest, see if there's a lug nut stuck in something. It won't even go. I can't even step on the gas. It's all jacked up. Didn't do anything good. We lost that position and made the car worse. It needs clear. Not clear right now.
We got a big hole in the nose.
Where that little in the 42 drove across it. Here comes Tony. That little is going to get his very soon.
There goes Denny Hamlin and Eric Almirola.
No damage with the wall. It's stuck in the grass. Splitter dug in a little bit.
Yeah, they got to pull me backwards.
Caution flag out, and once again another twist to the front.
What are we doing? We're staying out. We're staying out. First 5 stayed out here. This thing's going to work out just fine, bud. We need a good start here. If we can get the lead, man, it'll be really, really good. Green, green, green.
Jimmy Johnson breaks away in a hurry.
Keep whipping it, buddy.
We've got drivers that need to come onto pit road, and among them are those guys up front. Jimmy Johnson.
Bring it this time, bring it this time.
Johnson gives up a 3-second lead to hit pit road.
4 tires, 4. Go man, go, go man, go.
If this gamble pays off, Jimmy could be in the catbird seat.
The 2 car, he is going to be in second to us when this thing cycles.
Jimmy Johnson to the back stretch for the final time.
Happy Father's Day, Jimmy Johnson. You just won Michigan.
The Michigan curse ends for Jimmy Johnson as he will win.
Oh, yeah. About time, guys. Woo! Chad, brilliant strategy, brother. Really proud, pal. Really proud.
So unique to be able to hear the race from the driver's seat. All right, let's take a look at the updated chase grid now. The big change here, Paul Menard and Clinton Boyer in, Brian Vickers and Austin Dillon on the outside looking. It's the first time that Dillon has been out of the top 16 all year. So let's continue our discussion on the back half of the grid. Jeff, you drove for Richard Childress Racing for several years, including just last year. The team overall has struggled this season, but Paul Menard has been a bright spot.
Well, he's got 2 top 5s, and I don't think anyone at RCR would consider that to be a real bright spot. But the one thing that Paul and his team have always been able to do is the 1.5-mile racetracks. That's their strengths. That's where they run well. Paul likes those racetracks. They seem to find a way to make a lot of speed on those racetracks, and that's their strength. Where they got to tighten things up are the short tracks. They don't seem to run as well as the tracks get smaller. But Paul and Slugger do a really good job, and the big tracks are really, really where they make their hay, and they did it this past weekend also.
All right, so if that's not a bright spot, is Clinton Boyer's 7th straight top 10 finish at Michigan a bright spot, Kyle?
I think it is for MWR. I really do. And we go back to Dover. He had a strong run at Dover, had a look at winning a race. I think these guys at MWR really didn't show up for the first 2 or 3 races of the season, so he spotted everybody.
NASCAR Race Hub. I was going to say live on. The 8 team stayed out of trouble and got the big win at Talladega. That's next live on NASCAR Race Hub. I was going to say live on. Powerful. To take us for a lap.
So we run 2 road course races all year, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Sonoma being probably the most technical. Let's take a lap. Right here, you're coming onto the front stretch. Sometimes you'll grab 4th. A lot of times in the race, you'll leave it in 3rd. A little bit of brake and nice and easy around this long left-hander. Right here, you're going to downshift to 2nd. It's kind of a blind corner. You're looking all the way for the exit here. You're leaving it in 2nd gear all the way through this whole section. This one now is a real tight left-hander, downhill, compresses a lot. This corner here is really blind. Guys tend to hit the curb here a lot. Down the hill, you got to worry about a lot of wheel hop when you go to downshift. As you go into this turn 7, we call it. Hit the curb hard there, over the curb on the exit. Good place to pass right here, going into, you could call it turn 7. A lot of guys have a different approaches on what to call it. Really hard to get out of this corner. 1st gear corner, hard to get the power down. Usually short shift to 2nd, short shift to 3rd. Nice and easy around the left-hander here in the S. You got to get around this one real tight so you can be nice and square to come over this rise and get to the gas real hard and hug it real tight around turn 9. As you come into turn 10, the biggest thing you don't want to do is overcharge this corner and get loose in. If you can keep the back end underneath you, you can get in the gas hard, and this is a great place to pass going down into turn 11. Big compression zone, hard on the brakes. Right here, you want to get it slowed down, get off the brake, and hug these tires because there's a lot of grip inside that curb. And here you come back on the front stretch again. That's a lap at Sonoma.
Casey made it look simple. Now, hey, we say this jokingly, but there's a lot of truth to this. Black is good.
This place is a monster. Make no mistake about it. And yes, we'll see stuff like that this weekend. It's just classic Sonoma. It's time to talk about the finer points of this amazing and challenging circuit with someone who won the very first road course race at Sonoma, Ricky Rudd. There's lots to talk about, all 3 of us, so let's get to it. Ricky, let's start roaring down into turn 1.
Yeah, this is where things kind of get really busy here. Start-finish line. There's a big arc here. It's really one big arc into turn 1. Cars tend to get real greasy and want to wash out right there. Charging up the hill after a start, as you see, side-by-side racing, there's not a lot of room there. You want to hug the left side of the road, get to the top of the hill. You're going to grab 2nd gear, downshift, brake, accelerate up. After the race start, all things they sort of can go crazy.
One thing springs to mind here, Kyle. It's incredibly busy. I mean, bordering on chaotic. So
Yes.
we roar off the mountain, roar off the hill, down to turn 4.
Yeah, and Ricky talks about coming up the hill on the other side. We go down the hill into turn 4. These guys have sharp right-hand corner. They're basically a third-gear corner into our first real passing zone right here into turn 7. And it's really tricky here. You've got to get through turn 4 to set yourself up to be able to get around somebody in turn 7.
Yeah, this is what it looks like driving down in there. You're driving down into a hole. You're going to make this right-hand turn. You're still in third gear. Catch the inside curb, drift out against the outside. And now this is most of the passing happens right here going into turn 7. A lot of room there, but it can get real busy. Here's a shot from Jimmy Johnson's car. He's setting the guy up as he enters the right-hander at turn 7. He's setting him up to get a good acceleration run at him. And now he's diving to his inside. He's taking the preferred line away. Makes it look easy. Not always that easy, though.
Not always that easy. We see Kyle Busch. You see that hood bounce. You see the car bounce, and he runs in the back of the 27 car. That's wheel hop. You can overdrive these corners trying to be too aggressive.
How about here with Jeff Gordon?
Yeah, we see Jeff go to the inside here, and he gets up on the curb. Look at the way the car gets up on the curb, gets into the 83, which knocks him into the 6. This is a corner where you have to be aggressive, but you have to be patient too, and that's a hard thing to do in turn 7.
Don't worry, Kyle didn't forget to mention turns 5 and 6. They're on the infield. That's where the Indy cars and motorcycles go. So let's move ahead. One of the interesting aspects to this track, it's not all stop-start. There are some flowing elements to it, Ricky. We go through the S's and then the all-important turn 10.
Yeah, this is through the S's. As you see, the green represents wide open throttle. You come out of third gear, you grab 4th, and right here is a brake zone. Some guys go to 4th, some guys go to 3rd. And this is what it really looks like from inside the car. This is the S's, probably about the middle of the S's. Again, right around here, you're grabbing 4th gear. You're trying to keep the car on the inside of the racetrack right here. Not as easier said than done. Hard brake, make the right-hander right here at turn 10. And sometimes it's not easy to keep on the racetrack right here, as we see.
Yeah, turn 10 is a fast corner. You get off in the dirt over here. A lot of times, as we see with the 12 car here, he gets into the tires. Used to be a wall there, and when you'd hit that wall, it'd pump you straight back out in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, it used to be really nasty right there.
And perhaps the most talked about corner on this Sonoma racetrack is the final one. It's the hairpin, turn 11.
Yeah, and we talk about turn 10 sets you up for turn 11. This is the second real passing zone right here. And you'll see, guys, you're braking, you're downshifting, you're looking in the mirror, you're looking ahead. A lot of things go on, and there's very little room to make it happen in.
Yeah, and all that passing really sets up coming out of turn 10. You got to get a run into guys. We see right here, somebody's going by Biffle right here on the outside. But it all starts on how you get out of turn 10. You come down in here and you can see, here's some action. Tony getting in the back of Denny Hamlin here. Here's another good incident. What can happen? Here you got Logano trying to get by Robbie Gordon. Robbie moves over to pass him. Logano doesn't like it, and he just moves him out of the way.
It's classic turn 11. And look at this, Tony Stewart and Brian Vickers. This is part 1, Kyle.
Yeah, I think Tony thought that Vickers was blocking, and it's like, if you block me, I'm just going to shove you out of the way. That was okay with Vickers, because Vickers came back and repaid it a little bit later, and I think it hurt Tony a little bit more. We see Tony up on the tires here.
It looked like Tony got the short end of that one.
Yeah, Tony got the short end on that one.
You've never hit anybody in turn 11, have you?
Not intentionally.
1991 may come to mind. Kyle, we hear the drivers talk about what they want from their car, having the ideal car at Sonoma. Even recently we heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. say, look, road courses aren't my strong suit. I look to my teammates for setup, and we take it from there and see how we go. What do you need? What do you want from your car?
You need massive brakes. You want to stop on a dime, but you want to leave like John Force every time you mash the gas. And you know what? Dale admits, I'm not the greatest road racer, but he still needs the same things that the greatest road racers need. We've heard Marcus Ambrose talk about last year, had a great car, just burnt the rear tires off. Tire management. Those brakes and learning how to work that throttle will save those tires.
How about after the last round of pit stops? Last restart even, I imagine all bets are off at this place.
Yeah, it's almost a completely different race. You know, it's everything that happened before. Everybody's sort of gentle and kind to each other. They're not, trying to kill each other unless they had something that caused them to get excited and blow up. But generally, things flow pretty smooth. But right there at the end, especially when you get inside the last fuel window, all bets are off, and the race is really on big time. Nobody's as kind to you then. All of a sudden you drive down in the corner and you try to block somebody, as we saw here in the video a while ago, is that you don't wait. You don't have time to wait. So you got to move people, and that's when it gets interesting.
Gentle and kind. 2 words you'll hear here on NASCAR America, but you won't hear at Sonoma, I promise.
So just coming back to your point where you quoted Marcus Ambrose saying, you know, I basically burnt the tyres off the thing. How do you manage that at a track like this that asks so much of the car?
It starts in the Friday practice. It starts in Friday practice, understanding the chassis, understanding the shocks, understanding what grip is in the racetrack and what grip aero-wise, mechanical, and what your tires have to keep them on.
And just to add a little more to that, you know, it's really about tire management, because these cars have so much horsepower now, you can at any time step on the gas and light the tires up, burn them off the car, and I think that's what Marcus was referring to. Yeah, you can run fast for a few laps, but then your tires go away, and then you're not very good after that. So whatever forward bites you've got the whole race, you're working the throttle like you're on ice or snow.
Yes,
you're very gentle with that throttle, and you hope the crew can dial it in. But like Kyle said, it's more about practice, and then now the drivers, he's got the tools to work with. Maybe he doesn't have the forward bite he wants, but he can't sit there and just give it the throttle and burn the tires off.
One-word answer. Should there be a road course in the chase?
Most definitely should be a road course, and that's more than one.
I'm voting number 2 on that one.
And I'll join you as well. When NASCAR America returns, Darrell Wallace Jr. joins Kelly Stavast to talk about the Gateway win and his 2014 campaign. He's now a 2-time winner in the Truck Series, and he is already looking down the road.
Night, next Saturday at 7 p.m., only on Fox Sports 1.
Here's a look at the front row for the 16th race of the year in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. 3rd career road course pole for Jamie McMurray. And A.J. Allmendinger on the front row for the first time this season. Let's hear from the fastest man in Northern California, to Ralph Shaheen.
He's already talking about it over here. Congratulations, Jamie. 2nd year in a row now, you're going to pace the field to the green here. How impressed were you by the way the tires performed in that session?
Yeah, our car, I feel like all weekend long has not been good on the first lap. Even in qualifying, it seemed like I could run quicker on my second. But like I was telling you, every week in this qualifying format, you're blown away that someone goes faster on older tires than they can on new tires. And the drive off of 11 and 7 is so hard here. And I didn't feel like I had that, but I felt like we got the balance of the car better. So great lap. I'm so excited. All the guys from Cessna are standing over here. When I pulled in, I saw them all screaming. I'm like, that's what it's all about. They're really good.
Okay, so based on that information, how will you set your strategy for tomorrow?
Well, I thought our car in race trim is really good. The 15, I don't know what happened to him in qualifying. I thought he maybe had the best car in race trim, but our car was really good on the long run. Track position is important. I think for the race, I think you're going to see more pit stops than normal because the tires give up so much. But we're not going to change a whole lot. I feel really good about it.
Marty, you got the guy who's going to start alongside of him.
Yeah, we're about 4 feet away, and A.J. Allmendinger had to hear all of that and also had to sit in the car and watch all that go down. How frustrating was that whole end of the session?
You know what? We were in position to have it, so it could be a lot worse. You know, just proud of everybody on this 47 race team. I think we got a pretty good Kingsford Chevy. I was more happy in race trim than I was in qualifying trim, so to see the speed that we have, you know, excited about that. It sucks when you're that close, but you know what? Jamie put in a heck of a lap. You know, congrats to him on the pole. But I think we got a good car for tomorrow, so got a clean view of the racetrack when we go green, and we've got some fun tomorrow.
You and Brian were debating, though. You were cooling down, but there's a risk versus reward there, right?
Yeah, you know, by the time you go back out there and the tires, you know, when the session's longer, you can let the tires cool down, let the motor cool down a little bit more, have another shot at it, but it wasn't worth it. I thought I put in a pretty good lap. It wasn't like I made a couple of small errors, but nothing major, so I thought I got a good lap in, and you know, I said if somebody's going to get me, they're going to get me, and it was close, but got a shot. I'm just so proud of everybody on this race team back at the shop. We got a good shot to win this thing.
And Adam, as he told me, you know, it's pretty good when you're disappointed to qualify second.
That's exactly right, Marty. And for a team that came into this weekend with such high expectations, I think A.J. Allmendinger managing them quite well. They know they've got a chance, but they are setting themselves up for the best possible situation.
So there's no question it's beautiful country out there, but also no question that it is a very difficult lap, a very eventful lap. So let's go for a ride now as we take one around this Sonoma racetrack. And Kenny, here we are with Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart. Now I'm going to lay out, listen how he lets off the gas and coasts. Coasting, coasting, downshifting, second gear. Jeff can't see anything. Here we go now. This is a very difficult part.
Yeah, it's right here. It's a very technical racetrack, and one of the things you said, downshifting. Don't miss the shift when you downshift or going back up through the gears. We go down that hill back to where Rutledge was standing. This is turn 4. You come flying in this corner. You don't want to lock the wheels up. You are going to hop over the curve if you carry any kind of speed, and there's that wall. Look out for that wall. Now we go down to turn 7.
This is the wreckiest corner in all of auto racing. They will pile them up in turn 7 today. But now, for the fastest part of any road course, down through the S's. Let's listen. Off the gas, on the curb. Now, here we go. We're going to be flying through this corner. Now, Jeff, I think this is a very fast, very dangerous corner coming up.
Yeah, turn 10 right there. When you carry so much speed down through there, you got to make sure you keep the car under you. The back end, it can jump out real easy going into turn 11. And, JR, this is probably the best place to pass.
We see a lot of action in this part of the racetrack.
Yeah, this is a 180. Listen. Almost parking the corner, but now a drag race to the finish line. They'll be spinning the tires up off this corner.
So as Tony Stewart finishes up 1 lap, that's just one of 110 laps at this racetrack that we're going to see today. Kenny, what do you think is the place on this racetrack where a driver can get in the most trouble?
Well, that's easy. We seen Kyle Busch on Friday get off in this corner, and here we go. Let's take a look. This is a Speedy Gonzalez corner. There's no runoff, Jeff. Look, it's asphalt and straight to dirt.
Yeah, and the good thing about, listen to him. He gets back in the gas when he knows the car's getting ready to get loose on him and spin around. He kept it out of the tire barrier by doing that. A lot of guys can't. We'll see guys back in that safer barrier sometime during the course of the day. It's a very tricky corner when you get through the S's real fast.
And the good thing for Kyle Busch, no damage to that racetrack. And remember, just a few short years ago, Kyle swept both of the road course races in one season. Well, we're just getting cranked up here on race day. Road course racing seems to be getting better every year, so is it time to see one in the chase?
But we're starting to see that change a little bit. 3 of the last 5, including your win a few years ago, you made 3 stops. Are we seeing this change?
Yeah, I think you're going to continue to see that happen. We know these cars have a lot more downforce. Guys are going a lot faster and using more throttles. The tempo of the race is still kind of yet to be determined.
And in the perfect world, you'd love to pit under green here.
Ideal situation is you want to be the first one to pit under green, have the caution come out, and then you get all the track position because everybody else is going to come down pit road, pit, and get their tires and fuel and have to start behind you. It's a gamble. We all understand that. Actually, last week in Michigan, we played the exact same situation. We pitted early in that window, so if the caution had pulled out, we still would have been the leader.
Woo! Thank you, boys. Thank you, thank you. Chad, brilliant strategy, brother.
All right, I know you study the history of the sport. Do you know what crew chief has the most wins here in Sonoma? Really? Seriously?
What's crew chief?
Seriously? Really?
I'm gonna, I'm thinking back.
Seriously?
I'm guessing
really?
it must be Larry, I guess.
Good answer.
Now, just for the record, Larry, we did know the answer to that trivia question.
We did.
Because Larry told us earlier before. Now, whether it be a 2-stop strategy or a 3-stop strategy, Jeff, we always hear crew chiefs talk about running this race backwards. What do they mean?
Well, it's easy to show you. How about write down 110 laps? Okay. That's the length of the race, 110 laps total.
Total.
And then we're going to put down the amount of fuel we can go as far as 37 laps or 42. That's the difference right there between somebody not getting good fuel mileage and somebody's getting exceptionally good fuel mileage. All right, write down 37. Okay. So we're going to subtract 37 from 110. What that means is my last stop would wind up being lap 73, with my first stop coming at lap 36. See what I'm talking about? 110, 73 to 36. We'll run it from backwards to the front.
Bad fuel mileage, too.
Exactly.
Good fuel mileage.
Now, if I can go 42 laps, write that down. Now, my last stop would come on lap 68. First stop come on lap 26. Big difference there. You got a lot more options, a lot more variables, and you can dictate to what other competitors need to do by hitting pit road that early.
But these tires are giving away a lot more than they have in the past. Does that change the strategy?
Well, that's the reason why we're all of a sudden hearing drivers as well as crew chiefs talk about variables. Yes, and it may force you into a 3-stop strategy. You still want to try to run the race backwards because even though you maybe stop a little early, you still have to realize at the end you want to be out front. So that means get to pit road first, kind of force everybody else to take a strategy maybe that you want, but the more important part is be out in front of your competitors when it matters the most, and that's at the end of the race. It's all about track position.
So you go in with these numbers.
That's right.
But that might not necessarily be the way that you actually finish the race.
Nothing's set in stone.
Of the past 9 winners at Sonoma, many were first-time winners on a road course, and last year made for a milestone victory for Martin Truex Jr. He is with Bob Dillner.
As the defending winner of this race and with everything that's on the line as we inch closer to the chase, Martin Truex Jr., I want to know, does
Jeff Gordon hat?
That's why I signed a bottle of it.
I was wondering, how do you sign somebody else's hat? When the green flag flies, it is Jamie McMurray that brings the field to the green flag, and a great race behind him for second. A good battle here on this road course. The 9th lap, it was A.J. Allmendinger that was able to take the lead away from Jamie McMurray.
And Allmendinger was driving like it was the last lap of the race. Those first 9 laps, he was on it. He was putting a lot of pressure on Jamie. He was really pushing hard.
Another guy who was on it all day, Kevin Harvick, seemed to have the strongest car on the track. Here he's able to get by Allmendinger.
Hey, are you surprised that he had the fastest car on the track? I mean, all year long they've been fast. Can they find a way to get it done? They didn't again.
All right, guys that were on the 2-stop strategy started making their green flag stops here on lap 69. We see the 15 of Clint Boyer. He's on pit road. You had mentioned earlier about the cautions falling at the perfect time.
And it was a perfect time because on that next lap was when you saw Carl Edwards and his team pit. Here, everybody else is coming on pit road. Those 4 cars that pitted earlier, they stay out. They're on good tires, and they're out in front.
All right, so Kevin Harvick on pit road. They have had problems on pit road before, and it seems like that trend continues.
Absolutely annihilated. What are we doing? They just get really, really, really old.
All right, you touched on the guys that came onto pit road before the caution.
Okay, so here you have Clint Boyer on new tires. You have Carl Edwards, and you have Marcos Ambrose. They all have new tires. The guys behind them didn't have as good of tires.
How about this, though? Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets into the curb, up in the air, and boom, takes out the 20 of Kenseth.
And we talk about tire barriers and those kind of things. You see those tires just suck up, you just suck that car up. And actually in this case, it makes the blow even harder. That was just a mistake. I think Junior was actually trying to give him too much room and ended up getting into the wreck.
And the good news was we saw him walk away. How about this? Now, Clint Boyer, we're going to see his left rear tire is down. Right there, you see that. So he's not able to get to power as quickly, but McMurray looks like he drives right through it.
Well, he does because the 15 wasn't going. And I will tell you, when you get into somebody like that and they start to spin, the best thing to do is spin them on out, because if you don't, you're going to get in the wreck. The guy's going to get spun out anyway, so you may as well spin him out and get moving.
Yeah, and guess who got caught up in it? The 4 of Kevin Harvick. The woes continue.
Pit stops, pit stops, pit stops. You can't lose track position.
Lap 86, Carl Edwards has the prime spot, but he's got Marcus Ambrose that he's racing with as they go up the hill.
Yeah, and Ambrose wasn't happy with his restart. He felt like Carl jumped the restart. I didn't see it. I thought it was a clean restart. But you know, again, Carl got the lead right there.
How about this? Allmendinger gets tagged by the 88, and around he goes. He collects a few others.
Yeah, it's a shame for that team. They had a good run going, and it just all went away, and that's Sonoma. Gets late in the race, cars start falling out and having issues.
You mentioned late in the race. Jeff Gordon, so strong. He seems to be just clicking off driver by driver. Now he's got Jamie McMurray that he's able to get by in turn 11.
And Jamie did everything he could to hold him off, but the 24 was just too strong. And honestly, if the 24 hadn't had to go through so many people, I think he had the best car at this point of the race.
And right here, he gets so close to getting up to the back bumper of that 99 of Carl Edwards, but it doesn't happen. Carl Edwards able to hold on, and he is able to get his first ever win on a road course. And, of course, what does Carl Edwards do once he wins a race?
You know, I hope he never misses this, because it's not going to be pretty if he does.
It is absolutely poetry. He gets out of the car and does the backflip. So Carl Edwards gets the win. Jeff Gordon finishing second. Really pretty impressive run here for all the Hendrick cars. They're in the top 7. Who surprises you on this list?
Well, I tell you, the guy that had a good run that needed it, Clint Boyer. He's racing for points.
Sure, top 10.
That's the only way right now he's going to get in. Same way with Greg Biffle. Clint had a problem, but he fought his way back and finished the 10th. It keeps him alive to try to get in the chase by points.
The second 10, we look at it, and you had mentioned staying in the points. Ryan Newman finishes in 11th. A great finish for that team, still fighting to stay in the chase in points.
And he's the guy leading, the way I see it, except for Matt Kenseth. He's the guy leading those guys that are racing for points. And let's give a call out also to Casey Mears and his team. They had a good run out there, finished 13th.
And some other finishes, notables here. Brad Keselowski back in 22nd. Really tough day for A.J. Allmendinger after getting caught up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. ends up in 37th.
And Kyle Busch, he never ran all day. I can't ever remember watching a race where Kyle Busch ran that poorly.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Well, it was Carl's 19th start on a road course, and the Missouri native was all smiles in victory lane when Kelly Stavis caught up with him.
Man, oh man, oh man. This is awesome. TireRack.com.
Solid day, but not without incident. During the race, many of you were asking on social media why the 48 of Jimmy Johnson was seen roughing up his teammate Jeff Gordon a bit. There you see the two tangle. Well, we dug up some sound that you've yet to hear that may identify the culprit. Take a listen.
Phil, I got drilled by Stewart. Don't worry about it, man. Drive away. I didn't want to say anything, but after Stewart clobbered me and knocked me into 24, my steering went off like a quarter turn, and we got real tight after that. And I think we really had a car to win until I got stuffed from behind by that 14.
So Jimmy Johnson, referencing Tony Stewart's involvement there, said he got clobbered. This is Tony Stewart's onboard, which is video you did not see during the broadcast, but we dug up Smoke's onboard here, where the 48 then gets into the 24. So, Maddie Clark, is this much to do about nothing? We're setting up what happened. I'm not sure that anybody's to blame or to be at fault, but after the contact with the 48, Jimmy Johnson saying that his car lost some steering and it was never really the same. They were tight after that incident.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about it's a road course. Sonoma is tight, very few passing zones, so we expect contact like a short track when we go to Sonoma. Then look at the names involved. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart. All have an alliance, all friends. There's no problem, no harm, no foul, just good, hard racing. We saw the 14 get into the 48, the 24 paid the price. It's just all part of racing at Sonoma, Danielle.
Okay, so those guys in the end played nice. Jeff Gordon was up front when it counted, had a runner-up finish. Jimmy Johnson still salvaged a top 10, so perhaps they just let this one go and it won't come back up in the future. I'm not so sure about a few other incidents we saw Sunday at Sonoma, Bernsey.
All right, early in the race Sunday, contact down there, turn 11. Kyle Busch gets into Brad Keselowski. Keselowski spins, falling all the way back to 26th at that point in the race. He finished the day 22nd. Not a good day either for Kyle Busch. He finished 25th. Well, Larry Mack, as memory serves, that's not the first time that these two have gotten together.
No, they do have a bit of a history, but I will have to say, just watching that replay right there again, and watching it Sunday during the broadcast, I think it was just simply Brad Keselowski thought he was clear of Kyle Busch, and he was not. Kyle Busch was as low as he could go. Kyle didn't turn up into him, but in Joey Meyer's defense, which is Brad Keselowski's spotter, where the spotters are at Sonoma, that's one area of the racetrack that you cannot see right there. I guess we'll know if this was intentional or not this weekend, because I think Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski both are doing triple duty at Kentucky this weekend.
And I remember them having a lot of contact at Watkins Glen on the road course not too long ago.
Not only do they have a lot of contact, it's probably one of the best finishes we have seen in a long, long time. But whether Kyle Busch is ill at Brad Keselowski, which I don't think he would be, Kyle certainly was the one that didn't come out on the raw end of that deal at Sonoma this past weekend. Kyle Busch doesn't need to focus on nobody or nothing but Kyle Busch and that 18 team, because he has the win at Auto Club Speedway, but you look at his last 7 races, Steve, one top 10 finish, and that was 9th at Charlotte. So a lot of work to still do over there at the 18 team.
Larry, fans ask me this. I'm sure they ask you this. Is there such a thing as payback? And I guess the truthful answer is yes, but to your point, drivers can't spend time thinking about that. They got to think about winning a race.
Well, especially when you're in a situation at Kyle Busch. Yeah, we've seen many situations where a driver paid another driver back, and you know what? It may be down the road, like I think we saw with Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski at Atlanta a few years ago. So, yeah, I think the drivers do not forget. They have a pretty good memory, and I think sometimes they even write names on their dash.
One driver told me any driver that tells you he doesn't have a list is a liar. And the Nationwide Series race at Road America once again proved to be a crazy event. Up next on the Hub, race winner Brendan Gaughan joins us in studio. Hear how close this victory was to slipping away.
Tempers were hot.
No, I don't. Yeah.
No. We'll try to get Larry Mack to do it, though, in a cluster buster.
Well, Kevin Harvick found himself a victim of circumstance Sunday when he collided with Clint Bowyer on lap 81. Bowyer spun with a tire going down, and Harvick ran into the 15 car. Harvick back in the pack after a slow pit stop. Kevin again expressing his displeasure with his crew on the radio. It's a trend we've seen the last month or so. Have a listen.
You know that was going to be our Achilles heel? Got beat by the car in 5th place. That's how bad that is. Didn't do anything good. We lost track position and made the car worse. You're going to put 2 tires on. Don't lose track position. I messed up there. We'll get it back. Absolutely annihilated. What are we doing? It is getting really, really, really old.
And we revisit a graphic we had yesterday that illustrates Kevin Harvick's frustration. The Ford team has had an issue of some sort in 10 of 16 events. Some mechanical failure, which is part of the sport, but some self-inflicted. So we have a crew chief, a driver, and a former pit crew coach here to talk about this situation. And Brendan, A.J. Allmendinger was here yesterday, and you could still see the pain and the frustration of how disappointed he was not to have won that race after leading the most laps. When you look at Kevin Harvick's frustrations as a driver, has he been too harsh?
Well, it's not a fact has he been too harsh or not. Kevin Harvick is a great race car driver, and he's really fast. And it's frustrating. We all know how tough it is to win these things. It's been 10 years since I won. I get that part. But I also have that sports background that you know, from Georgetown in those days where you have to kind of treat people, everybody, you got to find out how they like it. But I'm a guy that believes in the team. You got to at least try to keep the team together and believe in that team cohesiveness. Sometimes that starts on the driver level, just saying, hey, I screw up at times too. You don't get to yell at me. But we got to work this out somewhere. He's had a lot of issues.
Which, in fairness, Kevin has said. Now, Matt, you worked at RCR.
Yeah.
You were the pit crew coach, and Kevin even called you out at times.
Yeah, personally, over the radio. Now, I didn't take it personal when he calls you out over the radio. That's Kevin Harvick. You know, you have lunch with him. He's a different guy when he puts the helmet on. And let's call it like we see it. Definitely the pit crew has cost them races, so he has a right to be upset. Guys handle it differently. Pit crew guys handle it differently. Some get motivated and are like, look, bring it on. Whatever you got, I'll take it. Then other guys have begged me, Coach, please let me go to the window net. I want to meet him after the race and whoop his tail. It just depends how you respond to a driver talking over the radio.
Coach Thompson always said that. Everybody's different. You got to respond differently, but you got to have somebody that takes charge of that situation.
But, okay, so some guys want to step up, but does it hurt other guys? Does it hurt their performance on pit road? I guess
it does in some respects. Having worked for Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, they handle it in-house, behind the scenes, a little differently than Kevin. I mean, but when you work for Kevin Harvick, you know what you're going to get. He's going to call you out over the radio. You sign up for it. You got to have big boy pants. I wouldn't do it that way, but that's how he does it. That's how he's always done it. It's not going to change.
So you're the crew chief. You got to keep the peace. How do you view it?
Yeah, I don't like beating anyone up, but you saw the graphic. Now, let's make sure we're honest here. Not everything in that graphic was pit crew related.
No, some was
But if I look at the last month and a half, a lot of it has. And the one that was missing on that graphic was probably cost them $1 million in winning the Sprint All-Star race.
Yep.
But I just think when you see it happen one time, it's an incident. When you see it happen 2 or 3 times, it's maybe coincidental. When you see it happen that many times, it's a trend or a pattern. I think the rubber has met the road. I think they have to make a change. They have fast race cars every single week. They are going to be in the chase. They have 10 races to get this thing right, because even with Tony being in the top 20 in points, even with Kurt having a championship, performance-wise, that's their bullet right there to try to win this championship. And you know what? Chad Knaus did win 69 races with Jimmy Johnson and 6 championships by being patient with people.
Here's the problem. You have to have depth into your teams where you have to have depth on the pit crew, and I don't know that the 14 team has the depth. You're in the middle of the season. Guys are under contract, so I don't know who you can draw from. That's the bigger issue.
Well, what Kevin does with it after the problem. If Kevin takes that, we all hear his emotion on the radio, but is he able to stay inside his head and say, I'm mad at you guys, but still drive the same? And that's what I see sometimes. He lets that emotion get the best of him. That's what he has to do also. They make the mistake. He has to control his emotions after he makes the
even that stop Sunday, not only did it possibly cost him a win, it cost him a race car. That race car got wrecked because they were put back in the field in the eye of the storm.
Well, guys, great conversation. And by the way, Brendan, thanks for being with us. Congratulations on getting back to the winner's circle.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck in Kentucky.
Appreciate it, guys.
Always fun to have you, buddy.
And Tuesday, July 15th, baseball's best gather in Minnesota for Major League Baseball's All-Star Game. Special coverage begins at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1. followed by the 2014 All-Star Game at 7:30 on Fox.
Jeff Gordon came up just short Sunday in Sonoma, but the finish was big for him as he closes in on a NASCAR record. Still ahead on the hub, we look at the big milestone coming up for driver 24.
And Danielle, it was more than just fenders that took a beating at Sonoma. A lot of radio buttons were worn out after this one. Just ahead, radioactive.
My bad. I took that curb and ran into him.
BCS move of the race goes to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale and crew chief Steve Letarte worked a 5-stop strategy on Sunday. Jr. was 10th on the final restart and worked his way past Jimmy Johnson, then Marcus Ambrose, and eventually Jamie McMurray all the way up into 3rd spot. It is Jr.'s first ever top 10 at Sonoma. Still thinking of Larry Mack twerking. At Sonoma, teams were managing strategy, tires, and, yes, tempers. In fact, rookie Alex Bowman bit his tongue a bit to hold back.
Yeah, he didn't want to be on Radioactive, but you can't hide from us, son.
No.
You say it on the radio, we will find it on the scanner channels. It was a juicy little nugget.
You didn't get hit right there, did you? They ran into each other behind you.
Oh, but imagine Alex Kennedy being a part of... Wait. That might end up on Radioactive. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, and 4.
Yes, you are.
Yes, it will,
Yes,
Alex
you
Bowman.
are.
Temper. Some guys didn't have as much restraint. Who let the verbiage fly, Bernsey?
Well, it's all in this week's Radioactive.
The engines have fired, and we are ready to do battle in the Toyota Save Mark 350 here at Sonoma.
All right, buddy. Let's have some fun today. All right, guys. It's going to be a fun one. Let's have some fun today. Be smart.
There's a lot of 3-stop strategies judging by everybody's engines running.
We're going to be prepared for all strategies. How's that? This place changes a lot. Over 110 laps. A lot of strategies play out. But if we do the right thing, we'll have a shot to win this thing. Have a good day, guys. Have fun. Enjoy it. 10-4. Be there at 10, man. Straight smooth all day.
We are green in Northern California.
Things get really jammed up on the green flag. It's going to be a busy race for these guys.
You can just be so much more aggressive with their cars than I can be. Just wheeling the out of it. All right, I've now lost a half a track to the 2. I'm over it. Right side 18 on your quarter.
Oh, and Keselowski goes around.
Probably gets run out through it 4 more times as bad as we are. Really getting loose. Yeah, everybody's complaining about it. We're just getting murdered out here. The tires are gone. Gotta do something, Brian, to help the rear tires. I mean, I'm trying to save all I can. Yeah, Jeff, for everybody else is going to be talking about it too. So the only car that's really better than us right now would probably be the 4. Other than that, we got everybody beat.
Kevin Harvick, the race leader.
All good, bud. Nice and smooth here. Right with you, pushing you.
On board with 2nd place Clint Boyer. Not letting Harvick get away.
Clint Boyer running 2nd. Brian Vickers running 3rd. Vickers looks to his inside. Boyer tries to block. Both of those drivers touch. They slow down.
And don't not have enough room. Oh, mind you, this is a joke back here.
Matt Kenseth, hard hit as he came down. Wow.
That knocked the motor out of the 20 car. Yeah, he's trying to drive it, but it just like it fell off the block. My bad. I took that curb and ran into him. I don't know what the I was doing there. So they're getting a little aggressive out there now. The one just flat took out the 15 through 11 there, collected the 4 car. Sam, I'm sorry, Ellie wouldn't go. It doesn't matter, but I ain't too sure I didn't have a flat. I don't give a He never let out of the gas. Oh, I'm gonna catch that long car.
Trouble coming off turn 11. It's A.J. Allmendinger. He gets hammered by Brian Vickers. Both of them will continue, but big hit.
I tried to roll the outside, of course. Junior didn't give a He just drives me straight in the wall. I like to be rude. I think we just jumped the wheels. This thing's barely steer. Damn, Junior. It's broke, guys. I'm going to the garage. 47, screwed us. Also check the right rear damage for, I don't know what happened there, 17.
Contact between Brian Vickers and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Somehow or another, Stenhouse keeps the 17 off of the wall.
Yellows beget yellows here at the end of a road course race. They'll take the green flag with 16 laps to go.
You got this thing, man. You can win this race. Get up there and get him. All right, bud. You know what we got to do here. I got it. We're good on the gas, but it don't hurt to save us some. Okay, I've been saving a lot. Gotcha. Done good. Come to the green. Take a few deep breaths.
Carl Edwards getting after it on the restart.
Nice and smooth. You're doing an excellent job. Nobody better out there. Stay focused.
Carl Edwards, a winner at Sonoma.
Woo! Yeah! Awesome! Awesome, Carl. Awesome. Good work, man. Good work. I cannot believe that 99 won this race. I just can't believe it. Congratulations to him. Awesome! Thank you, guys. Let's get some pictures. Let's get a flip.
Okay, so what I learned from that is sorry doesn't fix my race car, and Carl Edwards was the only one happy leaving Sonoma.
That radio communication by Clint Boyer brought me back to my old RCR days. Remember this, Clint Boyer, spotter Mike Dillon, the radio chatter
Austin
was
Dillon's dad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Greg Biffle was happy, sad, frustrated,
That was a
confused,
tough
or just
read.
downright mad.
And who was Brian Vickers mad at?
I think everybody.
The 47, so he takes out the
Just
17.
pick one.
Right.
Epic. Good stuff. Saturday, it's a full day of MLB action, beginning with the Twins taking on the Rangers right here on Fox Sports.
Version of road course racing.
That promises to give you some action here. This is going to be an interesting race.
Drivers, start your engine!
Go out and have fun. We've earned the right to have fun this weekend, guys. 110 laps.
The green flag's out. Jamie McMurray lead the field through turn one.
Another really good car again.
You got Martin Truex Jr. back there, and they are really going at it.
I have an issue with my right front tire. Vibrating real bad, shaking. Copy that. I don't know what to do. If you ride it out, fine. If you can't, we're ready and we can put tires on it. So we'll do 4 tires if we fit.
These two drivers finished 1-2 the last time we went road course racing.
Yeah, we're a roadblock here to the top of the hill all the way to 4. Plus a half a track to the 2. I'm over it. All over your bumper here.
Kyle Busch got him in the right rear.
Get spun out. Probably get spun out 3 or 4 more times as bad as we are. All right, 10-4.
The new leader on the racetrack, A.J. Allmendinger, managed to get around Jamie McMurray.
Road's really good right there. You're really fast through this corner.
These tires are falling off. These cars are starting to slide like they have not slid so far this whole race.
Get a lot of help here, Paul, in every direction. Bad wheel spin. We're just getting bartered out here. The tires are gone. Still with you. Still with you.
Matt Kenseth has spun his car.
The tire barriers.
A major impact for Matt Kenseth.
My bad. Jumped that curb and ran into him. I think I knocked the toe out of it, but we'll see.
The yellow flag flying again.
This couldn't have gone any worse. Where the cautions are falling. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Hard.
Jimmy Johnson was the quickest off the pit lane.
All right, man, this is working out fun for us. This is going to be good. You're going to be bunched right back up with these leaders. You're going to have way better tires than they are.
Kevin Harvick lost a couple of positions.
Completely annihilated. What are we doing? They just get really, really, really old.
Now Boyer gets turned around by Jamie McMurray.
I'm sorry, hell, he wouldn't go.
He collects Kevin Harvick in the process.
I ain't too sure I didn't have a flat. I don't give a He never let out the gas at all.
Two of the best cars here today. Kevin Harvick had led 23 laps.
Somebody get the bare bond, tape it, have to beat the left front out a little bit. You'll have to do more than beat it out. So they're getting a little aggressive out there now.
A.J. Allmendinger, he gets hammered.
Watch 47, watch 47. Oh, turn right into it. No green, no green. This thing's fairly steer. Junior, what happened to that 47? You jumped all right in the lifter tire? Yeah, he was out there, and as you came over, he just didn't give.
A.J. Allmendinger, that was a car that was good enough to maybe win this thing.
I mean, Junior, I tried to roll the outside, of course. Junior's just an absolute cup. Didn't give a just drives me straight in the wall.
Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, and A.J. Allmendinger have all gone by the wayside.
Oh, mind you, this is a joke back here. Still outside, still on your left. And a 55 just drove right into it. Yellow. Easy now, easy. We'll get caught up. We'll put 4 tires on it. You know, but we're going to stay out there and just stay with our game plan here so we got clean air. So all those cars did not pit? What's the deal there? They're saying too fast, section 4. I'm trying to get clarification. Come on, you gotta be with me. I'm not. I'm trying to get clarification.
Green flag back in the air. Carl Edwards trying to get the jump on Marcus Ambrose. The battle is going to be for third.
Keep the pressure on him.
Give that third spot to Gordon as they lean fenders on each other.
We're the best car through turn 10.
Second is now Jeff Gordon.
1 lap to go.
He's making mistakes. Stay on him. 24 is pretty decent.
Jeff Gordon is closing, but does he have time?
All clear. About 5. That's the checker right there. Nice job.
Carl Edwards wins the Toyota St. Mark 350.
Guys, let's get some pictures.
And you know, Jeff, when I watch a road course race, it seems as though these cars come back into the garage almost looking like it was a short track race, not a road course race. There's so much bumping and banging that takes place.
There's so many people that get mad at each other during these road courses. And honestly, when there's a hole, people feel like they just got to go in there because it's so hard to pass. And you just get this aggressive driving, you have braking zones, all these things going on. A lot of people get upset at Sonoma.
You say breaking zones. I'm guessing that Kevin Harvick, his will has about been broken. It doesn't seem like if he's not in victory lane, they don't finish well at all because they have mechanical issues. They continue to have problems week after week.
Well, here's the thing with Kevin. Kevin expects a lot out of himself, and he expects a lot out of the people around him. And this pit crew has let him down several times. He's had issues, he's had mechanical issues. I mean, if these guys wouldn't have had the issues that they've had, how many races could they have won?
Exactly. They've been running up front and in contention for wins virtually every race. But as you mentioned, mechanical issues, pit road problems.
But, you know, and Kevin's very vocal about it, and I think that's a lot of reason we're talking about it. Kevin doesn't hold back. He tells people what he thinks, and he's going to say the same thing on Monday morning that he says on Sunday afternoon. It's his way of trying to get it fixed. He knows those guys are working hard. He knows they're trying, but he also knows it's costing them wins. And if you're going to win this championship, if you're going to beat Jimmy Johnson, if you're going to beat Hendrick Motorsports, you can't continue to have these problems. And Kevin's trying to put the pressure on them so when they do get in that situation, and they will have an opportunity, they can execute. The way they're going right now, they can't win a championship even if they're the fastest car. And he knows they've got to get that fixed.
Is it a setup issue with all the mechanical things that we've seen happen? We've seen the tire problems. We've seen other issues take place. Is that a setup where they're really pushing the limit?
I'll tell you what the issue is. They went from 3 teams to 4 teams.
Okay.
And you spread out everybody. You spread out mechanics. You spread out pit crews. You spread all those people out. I'm not saying they didn't hire people, but what happens is when you hire new people, you're not always hiring the best person. You're hiring who you believe is the best person, but ultimately he may not be. So the whole company in growing got spread out a little bit. And we've seen mechanical issues not only with that team, but with other teams. We've seen pit crew problems with other teams. So in growing, this is part of the growing pains.
Let's stay within that organization, and let's talk Tony Stewart. So here's a guy who is on the hiring side of the teams that we're discussing. But as a driver, it seems like he continues to make mistakes. This, again, at Sonoma, he's too fast on pit road.
Well, listen, you cannot make me believe that Tony Stewart is still not feeling the effects of his injury. He had a major injury, and that not only affects you physically, it affects you emotionally. So he's getting back into the game. Don't forget, he was out last year a great deal of the year. So he's getting back into the rhythm of things. And the only car at Stewart-Haas Racing that's really fast is Kevin Harvick in that 4 car. The rest of them don't have the speed. So they're all trying to get everything they can everywhere. And Tony's overstepped his bounds a few times on pit road because he knows if he can get a little bit, it means a lot. And maybe he doesn't trust his pit crew enough. Maybe he doesn't trust the speed of his car enough. So if he can gain a spot or 2 on pit road, that's spots he doesn't have to gain on the racetrack. And you tend to push too hard when things aren't going well.
Okay, let's switch gears. Let's go to a different team, Michael Waltrip Racing and Clint Boyer. Now, here's another team who's fighting to get in on points, but not having the finishes that we would expect them to have right at this time of the season.
And that's why they're fighting in to get in points. They haven't shown the ability to win races. They're on the cusp of getting themselves far enough back where they can't make the points up. This weekend, I thought, was a win for them. They finished 10th. They had a car that maybe could have won the race, but they got in a wreck. And they still found a way to finish 10th, and that kept them in contention to have a shot to make the chase. Right now, I don't see them winning a race to get in the chase. I see them having to race their way in with points. Clint is an extremely consistent race car driver. That's his strength. He's very consistent. They can get on a roll and get themselves in by points, and I predict they will. I think they will. but they got to do like they did this weekend, take a bad day and turn it into a 10th place finish.
It's definitely going to be a fight for those final 6 spots right now that are filled with drivers that haven't won in the chase. As the dust settled in Sonoma, Carl Edwards walked away with his 2nd win of the season. Coming up, we break down the different pit stop strategies.
Under cloudless California skies, flashing past the start-finish line and taking the spoils of victory, Carl Edwards wins the Toyota Save Mart 350. Oh, yeah! Awesome!
Hey, I'm Michael Lingerfeld, front tire changer on the 99 Aflac Ford Fusion. And this was a really cool win for us because if you look at the whole series, there's only 2 times we get to do this a year. And these guys that's had 14 years that had never won a road course race with us today. And it's pretty cool to win, real special for a lot of people. And I can't say enough about everybody that was here today. Thank you.
And Mike Lingerfeld is just one member of the 99 team's over-the-wall crew. He's joined by front tire carrier Ryan McRae. Rafael Diaz and Eric Wallace handle the rear tires. Cameron Cobb is the team's jackman, and Sean Ward takes care of the fueling. Now, Carl Edwards and team, they employed the the 2-stop strategy at the road course, but there were so many different strategies. How do you decide which one going in is the strategy you're going to go with?
Well, going into the race, you look at how much fuel mileage you get and then how good the tires are, and you base a strategy on that. As a race unfolds, you may have to change it. You may get spun out, you may lose your track position, and then you change it. But what the 99 did was they had the perfect scenario. They decided before the race they were going to do 2 stops. Their lap was lap 70. We're going to pit on lap 70 because from there we can go the whole way. So in a perfect world, you pit on lap 70, the caution comes out. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened.
Right.
They pitted on lap 70, the caution came out. So not only did they do it, but Clint Boyer's team did it, Marcos Ambrose's team did it, as well as the 11 car. Look who's in the front of the race. All those guys are leading because everybody on the other strategy pitted before they did under green. The caution came out, they could all make it, then they had to pit again because they couldn't go the rest of the way. Right. So they got all their track position, they got the lead, they had new tires, they had full of fuel. Perfect storm. Everything worked out their way.
Obviously, if it would have been more than 110 laps, Jeff Gordon would have had something for Carl Edwards, but it wasn't.
Well, that's right, it wasn't. I'll tell you something else that's interesting about the fuel mileage is that teams don't say, well, we can go 30 laps, so we're going to pit on lap 70. They say, we can go 30 laps, or we're going to pit on lap 64, because they calculate the number of cautions they think they're going to get. So it's always a big gamble. So when you think about Sonoma, the teams that were already in the chase, they potentially could pit earlier, and if it didn't work out and they ran out of gas, so what?
Right.
They had a chance to win the race.
Absolutely. Well, tomorrow we begin a new series of features, Driver to Driver. Sonoma winner Carl Edwards recently spent an afternoon with Jeff Burton discussing everything from mutual respect to mentality of drivers and the personal side.
So when you got in that truck for the first time, you left that truck that day feeling like, I can do this.
Well, first thing I spun it out, and then I thought, oh, this is terrible. First lap, I pitched it sideways. I had no clue what I was doing.
What's the first thing that went through your mind when you spun that thing out?
Don't wreck this thing. And if I wrecked it, I just hoped it still ran because I had to get some more laps. I couldn't finish like that. But I left that day. I remember going home, and I thought, this is it. I can do this.
Again, part 1 of Driver to Driver featuring Carl Edwards can be seen tomorrow, and part 2 is going to run on Thursday, all right here on NASCAR America. Well, as Carl Edwards celebrates his victory at Sonoma, IndyCar heads to Houston for 2 full days of racing. It's a doubleheader under the southern sun. The Shell and Pennzoil Grand Prix of Houston, Saturday and Sunday at 3 Eastern on NBCSN.
He's going to get it done again in the Coca-Cola 600. Jimmy Johnson, another dominating performance, and tames the monster. On Father's Day 2014, the Michigan curse ends for Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson picked up his 3rd win of the season with a victory at Michigan. We head now to Hendrick Motorsports, where Kelly Stavis caught up with the team as they celebrate with the sounds of victory.
Jim, you're here to ring the victory bell for your first 3 wins of the season. They came in just 4 races. What is it like to get on a roll like that?
It's been awesome, and I really think that
Pocono, where we finished like 6th. We had a shot to win there, but an incident on pit road kind of, hurt our day. And then in Sonoma, I really felt like we had a shot to win, and a little incident on the racetrack kind of hurt the suspension and the handling on the cars. So the notion of maybe 5 or 6 in a row would have been really cool, and it's nice to have that speed in our cars. The strategy taking place on the pit box that Chad's calling, and then also the power and the speed that we just have right now. So it took us a little while to kind of find our way, but happy that it's here.
This team has only been ringing the victory bell for the last couple of years. What's special about this new tradition?
It's so great to go through and see every member of Hendrick Motorsports. It's very easy to only see 15, 18 people through our duties at the racetrack and the people that travel. So this gets us into every department, every building, and shake every hand of every employee at Hendrick Motorsports, which is really cool. We also have quarterly luncheons and then our holiday parties as well. So this gets the frequency up to where everybody on a first name basis and really have that team morale going on.
You mentioned Sonoma. You started 22nd. As you said, it looked like you could contend for the win. What was key to even putting you in that position late in the race?
We had a great race car, and that really gave us the options. I felt great about things. We were really in the catbird seat on the freshest tires, sitting there ready to roll, and some contact, in turn 4, I guess it was turn 7 actually, did left front damage to my car. My steering was off like a quarter turn, and I knew I was going to pay the price at some point. And sure enough, the car quit turning to the right through all the right-handed corners, and I slipped back from like 3rd to, I guess, 7th where we finished. So it was nice to see the leaders and nice to go up there and race for the win.
You've already crossed one winless track off of your list with a win at Michigan. Now we head to another of those tracks at Kentucky. What is the challenge at that track versus the other 1.5 mile ovals?
Kentucky's so rough. The front straightaway, you kind of just hold on tight because it's going to bounce your brains out going down the front stretch. And then 1 and 2 is somewhat smooth. And then from the entry to 3 off of turn 4, there's bumps all through the corner itself, and you can kind of pick some different lines. And long story short, it's just a very fun and demanding track. And even though people are saying that the surface is weird and the track's rough, it's character, and it's what we like for a Cup car.
Tomorrow you'll head to the White House to be honored by President Obama for your 6th Sprint Cup championship. Not your first time there. What stands out most about those trips to Washington?
It's just a huge honor, and in a funny way, I can't help but think of watching Forrest Gump and his moment, with the president. So it's kind of that department in my mind where it's just, huge honor, very cool for him to take a few minutes out of his busy day to honor what this race team has accomplished. Puts us right there with all the other major sports in America. So a big day, not only for myself, but my family, my team, our sport. So it's going to be very cool.
All right, even without the win this week, plenty to celebrate for the 48 team.
And we got a Forrest Gump reference in that interview. That was pretty impressive. But this team as a whole, Hendrick Motorsports, all 4 drivers in the top 10 at Sonoma, they are really clicking on all cylinders right now.
Again, we say it all the time, but Hendrick Motorsports is the pinnacle right now. They're getting it done. They've got many of the best drivers, many of the best crew chiefs. They've got great funding. They got it all going on right now. Okay, so one thing that we did see also in the clip there was that his teammate, Jeff Gordon, is the one who hit him. Don't you play fair when you're out on the racetrack with your teammates? Well, there's competition, right? You want to be the A driver. You want to be the guy that's the man. Right. You just do. And I don't care what anybody says, and this is nothing against Jeff Gordon or anybody else. But, Jeff Gordon forever was the head guy. Sure. Jimmy came in and started winning championships and actually surpassed Jeff in a number of championships. Jeff wants that back. He's toward the end of his career. He wants to be the guy that's winning the championships, and he's going to race Jimmy hard, and he should. It's good for the company. It pushes both teams, makes everybody better.
A lot of competition within the Hendrick organization. Well, the heart of racing takes us to some of the tracks that Jimmy Johnson competed at in his first season as a stock car racer. Johnson made his A.
Junior is glad for his buddy.
Racing is an important thing, an important part of our lives, but it's not the most important thing. And he's going to be able to go do this job. He's going to be financially set. He's going to be able to spend a ton of time with his kids, play as much golf as he wants to play. He's getting a steal compared to what he's doing right now. So I'm happy for him in that sense.
Steve Lazard is with us for a few minutes today on Raceline. Steve, congratulations on the Pocono win. It must feel really good to get that second victory already.
Well, you know, it's always great to win races, and to get a second win already this year really is spectacular. You couldn't ask for more. You know, we have the whole summer to try to build on that second win. That's mathematically locked us in the chase. There's no way we can miss the chase now, so we can approach the summer to try to get some trophies, to prepare for the chase, and build some new cars. There's really multiple different areas that this is going to help us.
So what is it that's changed in the 88 team that's put you guys in a position to win like this?
Well, I think, you know, it's immeasurable. Everybody has that question, man, how do you win 2 races versus not winning any? And I think no one understands just how competitive the field is. You know, you can't measure the difference between first and fifth. It's such small steps within the race that make all the difference in the world, and you don't even know what those steps were until sometimes the race is over. So you just have to stay consistent, stick with your plan, and believe in your plan, and hopefully your plan works out in the end of some of these races.
Going to Michigan this week, you can't help but look back at what we saw at the Auto Club Speedway earlier this year. The tracks are both 2-mile ovals, and usually if you do well at one, you'll also do well at the other. If you remember, Kyle Busch won at Auto Club Speedway in March, and rookie driver Kyle Larson finished second. And now he joins us today on Race Line. Hey, Kyle, so how good does it make you feel going to Michigan with that good run at Auto Club earlier this year?
Yeah, it's the same size and pretty similar shape to California, but it's been repaved in the last couple of years, and race is totally different than California Speedway does, and so I don't know if you can take a whole lot of confidence there, other than that I really enjoy big racetracks like that, and I finished really well there in the nationwide race last year, so hopefully when we go there this weekend that it'll be a good run for us and we can get a good finish for the target team.
What are the biggest differences in those 2 racetracks?
Well, the biggest differences between the 2 tracks are just the new pavement at Michigan, so the speeds are a lot faster, there's a lot more grip. Tire fall off is nowhere near as bad as California Speedway, and you pretty much run one line around Michigan, where at California you can run from the apron all the way up to the wall. So it'll be tough to pass. It'll be a lot of track position type of race, a lot of strategy going on, and I think our team should be good enough to keep up with the changing strategies and hopefully get a good finish.
Later today on Race Line, we'll talk with Kyle about trying to get that first win and his new house.
Here's the NASCAR championship points from Ford.
Racing with Paul's crew chief, Slugger Labby.
Hey, thanks, Danielle. And yeah, Paul Menard's having one of the best seasons he's ever had in his NASCAR Sprint Cup Series career. And coming off that top 5 finish at Sonoma, his crew chief Slugger Labby thinks they can continue this momentum into the summer stretch.
It's tough, the Sprint Cup Series is amazing. The talent level competition is through the roof. It's second to none, and it's tough to get a top 10 finish, let alone a top 5. So we want to make every chance for Paul to win a race, and if he doesn't, then we have to just get maximum points that day. So we're still going to be aggressive on our pit calling, aggressive on our setups, because it's possible that you could finish in top 12 in points and not make the chase. So we have to go for that win no matter what. And for the next 6 or 7 weeks, we're going to be aggressive, and then when we get closer to Richmond, we might change our tune a little bit when we find out where exactly we are in points and who we're racing for them spots. So it's definitely something you review every week, but for the next 5 or 6 weeks, it'll be throw everything we got at it and try to do what we can to win races. I don't go to Sonoma thinking, man, we're just going to try to finish in the top 15. That's not the way we prepare. We wake up every day coming to work knowing that we can win races and work on winning race cars. So I'm excited for Daytona coming up. The night race at Daytona is really exciting. We run well at Daytona, looking forward to that, and also looking forward to Atlanta, Bristol, places like that. But Kentucky this weekend, it's a bumpy track. We ran really well at Vegas earlier this year where we finished 3rd, and that's a bumpy track much like Kentucky. So we feel good about going to Kentucky this weekend, and that's the next race, and that's the one we have to win.
You can see the intensity in Slugger Labby's eyes. You hear it in his voice, and it's really refreshing to hear and see out of the 27 car. He says he's going to be really aggressive, throw everything at it for the next month and a half. They want that W, Ray.
Everybody wants a win because it more or less locks you in, but I disagree with Slugger slightly because I believe they've got a points race between now and Richmond. This team has been better this year than they've ever been, and if they can continue to knock out top 5s, they're going to make that chase, because I don't think we're going to have 16 winners. Earlier in the year, I sort of thought that might happen, but now with our repeat winners, that's not going to happen. So get the points, Don't be too aggressive.
You're saying stay steady, Eddie, instead of going for broke. Right now, Paul Menard, 12th in points. Bernstein, let's see where that stacks him on our chase grid.
Well, Danielle, I'm not keeping count, but Slugger Labby did say bumpy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson leads our chase grid with 3 wins. Bob Dillner and I are going to take a look at this. You know, Bob, there's a lot of guys that want to see their name in yellow because, well, yellow means you have a win and you are basically in the postseason. Remember, 16 drivers in the postseason this year.
And I look at Paul Menard right there in 14th. He's a guy, we just talked about him, red hot right now, but you don't know how that team is going to perform through the summer months here. And they are one of those guys maybe in jeopardy of falling outside of those guys that are going to make it into the chase.
Kurt Busch has a win, but he's 26th in points, which means the cutoff line right now stops with Greg Biffle. He is our bubble boy. Listen, lots of big-name drivers still looking for that win with 10 to go.
Yeah, and I look at that list right there, and I look at 2 guys that are not necessarily the biggest names like a Casey Keener or Tony Stewart. I look at a guy like Jamie McMurray. Ran really well at Sonoma, has come close to winning this year. That organization with Ganassi really stepping their game up a little bit this year, and a lot has to do with Kyle Larson coming on board, and certainly Keith Rodden as well. But I believe that number 1 could work their way into a chase spot, as well as Brian Vickers, that 55 team with Michael Waltrip Racing. They're coming up on some very good racetracks for Brian Vickers. He won at Loudon 1 year ago. We're coming up to the Magic Mile shortly. So I believe they, with some consistency and possibly that victory, can work their way into the chase.
Yeah, you mentioned Jamie. He's a great plate racer, too, with Daytona coming up. So which of those guys that haven't won yet will be the next to visit Victory Lane? Let us know what you think. Matt Kenseth, says Bob, by clicking on foxsports.com/racehub. Here are the choices. Maybe one of these, Bob?
Matt Kenseth.
Matt Kenseth will win this weekend.
With Sonoma winner Carl Edwards to discuss his start in racing and the influence of his cousin Ken Schrader. After a career-best third-place finish at Sonoma by Dale Earnhardt Jr., we check in with the crew chief of the 88 team, Steve Letarte, as they get ready for the Kentucky Speedway this weekend. Welcome to NASCAR America, everyone. I'm Marty Snyder. He's the mayor, Jeff Burton, and we're going to cover a lot of ground today. We'll talk Carl Edwards, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and driver protocol after a wreck. But first, let's start with the traditional NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship standings. And, Jeff, here's the top 10. Now, you've been saying, I got to brag on you real quick, since February, we're going to have a points race, and it looks like it's certainly shaping up that way.
Well, we're not going to have 16 winners in the first 26, 28 races. We're just not going to. So, to me, Matt Kenseth looks really good. I think Ryan Newman looks like he's in good shape. They've been consistent. So those guys, to me, feel like they're the favorites to make it by points.
Now, you get down here around Kyle Larson, it starts to get a little more interesting, doesn't it? Especially when you talk about the back half of the top 20 here, 11 through 20. That's where there's some interesting players.
Well, I think it gets really interesting because, and here's why. We have 10 races left, and we're gonna transfer 3 to 4 cars in by points. That's my feeling. So you got those 2 up there that we just talked about, right, and Kyle Larson. That's 3. Where are the other ones coming from?
They're all battling it out, aren't they?
And as we're looking at it, look at the points. He's 121 behind, 128 behind, 136. It's close.
Very tight.
A small mistake had big consequences.
Let's talk about a couple of guys who are going in the right direction. One, certainly Paul Menard, back-to-back top 5s for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and I think Paul and his team are doing a really good job. I thought early this year they had some cars that could win the race. They didn't find a way to make it happen, and they also actually had bad finishes. They now seem like they're turning maybe bad days into good days. And I still feel like they have the speed to maybe pop a win. I don't think they're going to win 3 or 4 races, but they could pop one win. But to me, they're heading in the right direction, have positive momentum.
And you got to give a call to Slugger Labby for that call at the end of the Sonoma race. That gained them a ton of track position. Hey, look who's in 16th. This is a guy that we were talking about all year long going the other way. All of a sudden, maybe a glimmer of hope for Casey Kane and his team.
Well, I think it is. But you do have to start looking at something. They're 151 back. It's you know, they're still pretty far away back from Kyle Larson. Not 151, but they're probably 40 points back or so. They're in a tight battle. I do feel like they're heading in the right direction. They're not there yet, though. And I think they could have something go wrong and be set back, take that momentum away. It hurts, man. When you're the worst running team of your teammates, it's hard to overcome.
They just need some confidence at this point, and it seems like that's certainly growing these days. The guy right behind him, Tony Stewart, in 17th. They have shown, I've been around the team a lot lately, they've shown the speed to have a top 5 car. They just can't get there. Why?
I think the last 3 weeks they have been fast, and I thought with everything going right, they could have won one of those races. Tony's been caught speeding on pit road in 2 of those 3 races. I think Tony's pushing a little bit, and I don't care what anybody says. I know people are probably tired of me hearing me say this, and I'm sure Tony is too, but he had a major injury. He had a severe injury, and I still think Tony's getting back to being Tony. You're not out of the car for that long and just pop back in it. I think it takes a little while to get that momentum going.
You know, a few weeks ago, he told me there was no need to panic yet. The fact that they didn't have a win, you know, now that we're closing closer to the chase, he said maybe 5 races before the chase, he would start to panic a little bit. You agree with that? Not time to panic
He's
yet?
more patient than I would be. To me, maybe panic's not the word, but they certainly has to be concerned, not just with Tony, but at Stewart-Haas Racing, because, you know, Kevin has shown a ton of speed. The other 3 teams have been very, very, very spotty, and they're making mistakes on top of it and having failures on top of that. So there has to be some concern.
I will say at the Indy test, everybody's saying Tony Stewart was the guy with by far the fastest car. Austin Dillon, you know, they seem to be sliding backwards with their finishes lately. Why?
Well, early in the year, I thought, to me, the 3 team, and Gil Martin and Austin were doing a wonderful job of taking average runs and turning them into good finishes. They really, if you looked at the rundown, they really never ran like 7th or 8th, but they were running, they finished 12th, 14th. They were having good finishes, but really running high teens, low 20s. That stopped. They're not getting those finishes like they were early in the year, and I don't know. I just don't see the speed with this team just yet.
It is amazing to me. Brian Vickers is 20th in the championship standings. 4 weeks ago, they were 8th. What has happened?
The 55 team, 20th in points, is the example that we still point race and that points still matter. Right. In a month's time, they went from being in a great spot, in a great shape to make the chase without a win, to being in a situation where they've got to jump frog all these people to get to the position where they can make the chase. And not only do they have to gain points on the guy that ultimately is the last guy that gets in, they got to beat all the people that are in front of them. And that's going to be really hard to do. I mean, they've run well.
Yep.
It's kind of the opposite of Austin and what they've done. You know,
they've had speed at times.
They've had speed, but they've had no finishes. And in the last month, it's really put them in a big deficit.
Well, if there is some good news for Brian Vickers, it's the fact that New Hampshire's coming up in a couple of weeks, and he is the defending winner of that race. Good to talk about some drivers trying to claw their way into the chase. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk about a driver who's already in. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, Steve Letarte, will join us on NASCAR America.
This auto graveyard to demonstrate a remarkable car polish. New Finish, the once-a-year car polish. Simply wipe it on and just wipe it off. It's that easy. And look, New Finish restored a deep, hard shine even to this weather-beaten car. We polished this car with New Finish and ran it through 52 car washes. Even after heavy-duty detergents and powerful scrubbing, the water still beads. So get New Finish.
Available at Pep Boys, Target, Ace, O'Reilly Auto, AutoZone, Walmart, and other leading stores.
You know our brands, but you may not know we're a family. 12 brands, more hotels than anyone else in the world. Like Days Inn, where you can do everything under the sun. Save up to 15% and earn bonus points when you book at WyndhamRewards.com.
This 4th of July, hurry into Rent-A-Center and save $10 a week on a Toshiba 50-inch LED TV, now just $19.99 a week. Or a Whirlpool refrigerator, now just $16.99 a week. It's the 4th of July sale at Rent-A-Center.
I take Prilosec OTC each morning for my frequent heartburn. Because you can't beat zero heartburn.
Prilosec OTC is the #1 doctor-recommended frequent heartburn medicine for 8 straight years. 1 pill each morning, 24 hours, zero heartburn.
4 guys under a street lamp. First time we made that sound, that was the best.
I love you, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 Seasons.
Jersey Boys, rated R, now playing.
He once gave a pep talk so compelling, both teams won. Your guess is as good as his. On second thought, no, it's not. When he whispers to a horse, it whispers back. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
I told Stevie that I think I figured out what the trick is to being the really, really good crew chief is to run every, to call the season like it's your last, because he's just his strategy is aggressive and a little bit out of the box, and that pays off in most cases. So when you do something different, get off the pattern pit-wise and stuff, get off the strategy, it seems to allow you to be a lot more aggressive. My car, I had the tires and was able to drive by those guys at the end.
Maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. should have told Steve Letarte that a long time ago, because that might be what's making them so successful this year, and might be a little bit of extra motivation their final season together. We'll find out if that is some extra motivation by dialing up the crew chief of the number 88 Chevrolet. Steve Letarte is on the phone with us, and Stevie, I got to say, maybe that's the secret. Junior should have told you a long time ago, it's your last year. Crew chief like it's your last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good advice. I don't know if the last year is really the big turning point of the season. I think, more than anything, it's the new structure with the chase and the points and the wins and what everything works for you. And we were fortunate enough to win the Daytona 500. So from there, it's been easy to be aggressive. The risk versus reward has really tipped versus the reward side. So the risk isn't as high as it used to be, and especially now that we have a second win at Pocono, I think we can really get aggressive at some really great tracks where pit strategy can pay off in New Hampshire and Indy, and really all of August. It's pit strategy tracks, so we're looking forward to them.
Well, Steve, you're talking about the future, and what I want to know is, what are you guys doing over the next 10 weeks to prepare yourself so when the chase starts, you can be in championship form?
Well, I think the biggest thing is everybody would love to think you can just flip a switch when it's time to make the playoffs. But these playoffs this year are going to be different than ever before. And, they're like mini playoffs within them. You have sections of 3 tracks at a time where you have to continue to qualify. And we're starting to look at the chase and figure, Chicago, New Hampshire, Dover, the first 3 tracks, you could probably points race your way in. But as you get later into the chase, wins are going to be required. So as a company, we're looking at when we want to schedule our testing, what tracks we want to go to. As a crew chief, I'm looking at what tracks do I have coming up where I could maybe build a new car and get a little time on that car before we get to the Kansas, Charlotte, Talladega, that swing in October that I really feel you're going to have to win races in the chase to even be around at Homestead to have a chance.
Well, one thing I find interesting about Hendrick Motorsports is you guys are going to have a lot of cars in the chase. So you have tests left over. Who decides where you're going to test? Because I know that some teams want to test one place and other teams want to test other. Who makes that final decision?
Well, it's kind of funny, Jeff, because when you get the crew chiefs in the room together, we really all agree. And it's about when you look at the chase and the tracks you go to, the easier thing to do is start eliminating tracks you don't want to test at. Okay, we're not going to test Talladega. We don't feel testing at Dover has benefited us in the past with the concrete and the way the rubber goes down on the racetrack. We've already tested New Hampshire. The 48 took a tire test at Chicago. As you start eliminating tracks, it really starts circling the ones on the circuit that you're going to go to. We're all going to go to Homestead. I think every company will go to Homestead that has a chance in the chase. So then you start looking at Phoenix, Texas, Martinsville, Charlotte. Where do you want to go that you feel you can get a leg up on the competition and try to get that win?
All right, well, Steve, the next race is Kentucky. And you talk about one race at a time. I know from a driver's standpoint, going to Kentucky, it's going to be rough, it's going to be bumpy. Talk to me a little bit about how you prepare Junior for how rough it's going to be. And what is the point where you start working on bumps, and what is the point where you just ignore them and tell the driver, hey, look, dude, you got to deal with it?
Well, there's a lot of layers to that, and I think how do we start preparing? I'll start sending him his notes. I normally wouldn't send him any paperwork or notes preparing for an upcoming race, but Kentucky is one of those tracks that his feedback is very consistent from year to year about the surface, about the track. We'll start sending that to him so he can read his comments, so he doesn't focus on the things that don't help the car go faster. We have this conversation. Our engineers at Hendrick Motorsports are really smart. We can have a car drive like a Cadillac. The problem is, it's not a ride contest. It's a contest of speed. And we'll have to really look at the stopwatch to determine whether we need to address the bumps or not. If you're really fast, then you probably won't address the bumps as much and continue to work on your car. If you have a car that's off on speed and the bumps seem to be a problem, you'll address them. But, we have a good kind of a head start to Kentucky. We sat on the pole there last year. We were leading when we hit a tire that rolled out in front of us on the racetrack. So while it's not the same rules package we have this year, we kind of have some scale on some of the tracks we've been to, and we think we can kind of use that offset and have a good head start.
Well, Steve, best of luck this weekend. We certainly appreciate your time, and good to hear from you as always.
Guys, I appreciate you having me on. Sonoma, it wasn't a win, but it was as good as a win for the 88. So we're going to enjoy ourselves going to Kentucky, and we're looking forward to go back to Daytona.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
He's exactly right. Third place for Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Sonoma is kind of like a win, isn't it? But I'm curious from you, where would you rank Steve and Dale Earnhardt Jr. as a driver-crew chief combination right now in the Sprint Cup world?
Well, I think you got to step back a little bit and think about when they first got together. You know, Junior had zero confidence. He wasn't winning races. He wasn't running well. And Steve brought an attitude. He brought a mentality, and that's what Steve's so good at. He's good at positive energy, you know, and I think he did a great job of pumping Junior up, saying, look, we're going to get back there, okay? And he steadily did that. It didn't happen overnight. They've steadily done it, and this is their best year. So 2 years ago, yeah, they were okay. But right now, they're one of the best.
I'll tell you this, 2004 season included, I've never seen Dale Earnhardt Jr. more confident than he is right now, and that certainly cannot hurt. Coming up on NASCAR America, part one of our driver-to-driver with Carl Edwards. Some intriguing stuff, including how his family played a big part in the start of his racing career.
Kenny Schrader and my dad are cousins.
You're related to Schrader?
I'm actually related to Kenny Schrader.
Really?
Which I was really proud of until I got to know him better.
Cooper engineers its tires not just for performance, but real-life performance. So before you get in, get going. Get gone. You need to get a tire that gets you, because life's a road trip. Come on, let's go. Buy 4 qualifying Cooper tires and get up to a $70 prepaid card by mail. See retailer for details.
We start the day thinking about one thing, bread. But we know you've been thinking about it too. So we're always trying to make it even better. That's why we added some ingredients and took others out, making this our best bread yet. Bread is on the rise at Subway.
After a long day of doing man stuff, me and the fellas trust new Dial for Men Power Scrub to give us a clean we can be proud of. Over-engineered with unstoppable orange oil and micro scrubbers. Unstoppable! It leaves us honkingly gorgeous.
Dial for Men, proudly over-engineered.
The Dew Tour is back. The season kicks off with the Beach Championships, Saturday on NBC and NBCSN.
Tonight, this dog...
I'm addicted to cuddling.
You look like you could cuddle me long time.
...has one final trick.
Is your finger where I think it is?
You are a freak.
Wilfred is moving to FXX.
In your face!
I found an envelope. An envelope? An envelope. An envelope. An envelope?
No, an envelope.
We can play this game all day, Ryan!
Wilfred. The final season starts tonight at 10 on FXX.
You wouldn't buy Universal Fit shoes for your feet? Why buy Universal Fit parts for your car? Go to rockauto.com. Parts from rockauto.com fit your car exactly. And they're easier to install because they have the same connectors and brackets as your car's original parts. And at Rock Auto, original equipment quality costs less than other stores charge for generics. Order online, delivered to your home or office. rockauto.com.
All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto.
Hearts. They get all the love. What about me, the liver? When you overindulge, I clean you up. If that's not love, what is?
Love your liver with Liverite Liverade, the natural dietary supplement that aids and supports liver function. Impurities in your liver can make you feel sluggish. Liverite's unique formula cleanses your liver from impurities in your diet and environment, so you can have better energy, better quality of life.
Love your liver with Liverite.
Available at CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, and Walmart.
Carl Edwards trying to grab his first victory of the 2014 campaign. He will see the yellow flag along with the checkered flag. He punches his ticket to the chase in 2014.
Woo, awesome, guys. Way to go.
Edwards comes off turn 11, upshifting through the gears, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and under cloudless California skies, flashing past the start-finish line, Carl Edwards wins the Toyota Safeguard 350.
It's already been a memorable season for Carl Edwards, and today we begin a new series of features, Driver to Driver. Jeff, it's really something that you had a vision for. What was the initial vision behind what you wanted to get out of these driver-to-driver features?
Well, I just think two drivers sitting down talking, you know, and discussing the past and the future and where drivers are now. Just honestly a look at where a lot of people don't normally get, and that's just two guys sitting down talking about what they do for a living.
Kind of what you guys would do in the motorhome lot,
exactly.
Right? Exactly right. Well, Sonoma winner Carl Edwards recently spent an afternoon with Mr. Burton. Here's Carl Edwards, driver to driver.
Carl, thank you for joining us on Driver to Driver. I really appreciate you being here.
No, thank you for having me. This is cool. This is it's wild to be sitting here doing this with you, so thanks for having me.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Tell me about growing up in Missouri. What was it like growing up in a small town, and how did that influence your life?
Well, Columbia, Missouri, it was not a racing town. But for me, I mean, I'd go work at my dad's shop. I mean, it wasn't really work. He'd have me, you know, picking up cigarette butts and pulling weeds and stuff. But I was always around my dad and his friends, and they raced. And so to me, it was something that we went and did with Dad. We went to the races, and I really enjoyed it.
So your dad was a driver?
Yeah, so my dad, he's a really good race car driver, and so he built his race cars. He owned a little Volkswagen shop. He built his engines, built the cars, but mostly he raced these little four-cylinder cars, and that's what I started racing in. And they called him God for a while at the racetrack because he'd win every night. He just had it figured out.
When they call you God, you must be pretty good. So that was all dirt track.
Yeah, that was it. We didn't. You know, we were dirt racers, and so when I was about 14. My dad let me run a hot lap session in his car, which changed my whole world. I mean, racing looks easy, right? I mean, I remember thinking, this is going to be great.
Trust me, it looks really easy.
Yeah. And so I went out there and drove this car, and it scared me. I mean, it was, you know, it was frightening. And so we bought this little Volkswagen car and worked on it for about a year, got it done, and that was it. We extended the trailer, put two cars on it, and I went racing with Dad, and that was awesome.
So did you race against your dad?
Yeah, every week.
Really?
So
Who did Mom pull for?
I don't know. That's a good question. We race hard. I mean, it was. I'm very fortunate. I learned a bunch. I mean, my dad is a very, very smart person, and he taught me a lot about racing, and I really value that time to do it.
So when all that was going on, were you thinking about trying to make a living racing, or did you just want to race?
So I started. Kenny Schrader and my dad are cousins.
You're related to Schrader?
I'm actually related to Kenny Schrader.
Really?
Which I was really proud of until I got to know him better.
Here they come at the line, Schrader. Incredible win for Ken Schrader.
He gave me a lot of opportunities. He let me come work down at his shop for 2 summers when I was in high school. And I'll never forget when he finally said, hey, come in my office. He said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I want to drive race cars. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. And he basically laughed at me. He said, you don't have a clue. And that's when he told me, be a dentist, do anything else. And I told him, hey, man, I remember I wanted to cry in there because I thought he was going to let me drive his ARCA car or something. And he said, listen, if you want to drive a race car, you need to go back home. You need to get them modified. They're hard to drive. He said, in that St. Louis area, Missouri area, those guys are the best. He said, if you can run a modified against those guys, he said, then we can talk about you driving race cars. And so that was hugely good advice because that let me go home, tell Mom and Dad, hey, here's what Schrader said. I didn't tell him about the dentist thing. I said, he said, this will all work out if we just get them modified and go racing. But that was big. So I'm very appreciative to Kenny Schrader for that.
So what's the moment where you feel like you got the opportunity? I mean, you know, Jack Roush wasn't watching you run a modified in Missouri.
Right. I called Mike Mittler. I stopped at Mike Mittler's shop when Jamie McMurray was driving that truck. And I saw right there that, hey, man, this is awesome. There's a guy in Missouri racing NASCAR trucks, and he obviously hires guys. So I started wearing Mike out to the point where he wouldn't take my calls or anything. So then I'd just show up, and they'd all kind of make fun of me because I wanted to drive the truck so bad. And I realized Moberly, Missouri had just paved their racetrack, and I'd been racing there on the dirt track. So I went to Mittler, and I said, hey, they just paved this racetrack. I'll rent it for the day. I'll take care of all the expenses, and we can go testing if you'll just let me drive for like an hour. And Mittler said, well, that sounds great. He's like, but Carl, you don't have any money. What are you talking about? And I said, no, I got it. And so then I went to the local newspapers and stuff in Columbia, and I said, hey, I'm getting this big opportunity in NASCAR. Would you come cover it for the day? And they said, sure. And so then I went to the racetrack and said, look, I'm going to get all this media here to cover your track, to sell tickets, so would you give us the racetrack for the day? And they said, all right. So that's how I put this whole thing together. And after 5 or 6 laps, I thought, this is it. These cars are awesome. And that day was it for me.
So when you got in that truck for the first time, you left that truck that day feeling like I can do this?
Well, first thing I spun it out, and then I thought, oh, this is terrible. First lap, I like pitched it sideways. I had no clue what I was doing.
What's the first thing that went through your mind when you spun that thing out?
Don't wreck this thing. And if I wrecked it, I just hoped it still ran because I had to get some more laps. I mean, I couldn't finish like that. But after 10 or 15 laps, he said, all right, that's it. You know, but he gave me a taste of it, and I did. I left that day. I remember going home, and I thought, this is it. I can do this. Finally, Mike gave me a chance, and that was it. It meant the world.
So when Jack Roush called, what did that feel like? Did you even read the contract?
Okay, so let me tell you how the contract thing went. So my dad's Volkswagen mechanic. He went back to law school. So my dad's fresh out of law school. We're sitting there at Johnny's Beanery in Columbia, Missouri. Dad and I are going through this thing, and I had my whole list of questions. I mean, we went over every line of it and had like 25 questions. And the first person I called was Kenny Schrader. I said, I'm gonna call him and we'll go through all these questions. I said, okay, Kenny, you have a minute? He's like, yeah, no problem. I said, okay, I've got a list. I said, okay, first thing on my list, they said this about license. He said, stop. He said, stop. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, okay. He said, I'm gonna solve this real easy for you. I'm gonna fix this. He said, you take all the contracts you have that are gonna pay you money to drive race cars. He said, you just lay them out on the table and then we'll pick the best one. It's like, oh, I see what you're saying. I only got one. He's like, sign it. So I was done. And man, it meant the world for those guys to take a chance on me. And then we won some races and went on. And that was a huge time in my life.
You know, the amazing thing about that, a lot of insight there from Carl Edwards as to how he got to where he is today. But here's a guy who was your teammate, a guy who took over the car that you made famous. And you learned as much in that interview as probably fans at home did.
Well, you know, when you race against somebody, you don't care about their personal life, you know?
I don't care how you got here.
I want to know his weaknesses, you know, where am I going to beat this guy? You know,
Right.
So there's so many things that I learned in talking to Carl, for sure.
Well, we have to give Carl a lot of credit. He flew straight from Sonoma, California, to New York. His longtime PR rep, Randy Fuller's father, passed away late last week. Carl not only surprised the family by attending the funeral, but he gave his Sonoma winning trophy to Randy, who has been a fixture in the garage area. You see the picture right there. Class act by Carl Edwards. Hey, don't forget to catch part 2 of our Driver to Driver tomorrow during NASCAR America at a special start time of 6 p.m. Eastern. For today's Heart of Racing, we go back and look at Carl Edwards in his early years. Carl graduated from Rockbridge High School in 1997. Is that a mullet or a perm, Jeff? I can't tell.
I'm going with the perm.
Carl certainly knew how to promote himself. You've heard the story. Here's his business card.
A perm.
I think he looks like Brad Keselowski there. I really do. I know he is not going to be happy that I said that, but I really do. And he capped off his early years in racing with a pair of track championships at Capitol Speedway in Holt Summit, Missouri. Hey, want to see your track on NASCAR America? Send us your best photos. Use the hashtag Heart of Racing.
Before the fans go in, before the drivers go in, before the championships go in, before Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil goes into these cars, we put the energy and science into perfecting it. Energy lives here. Mobil 1.
How cool is it that new DiGiorno designed a pizza kit lets us create our own pizza?
And use delicious DiGiorno toppings like pepperoni, sausage, onions. My favorite, red and green peppers.
And we made it look just like Billy?
We made Billy.
I don't see it.
New DiGiorno Design a Pizza Kit has everything you need to create the pizza you want. Thankfully, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. Nestle, good food, good life.
Playing football can be really tough on your skin. To avoid unnecessary roughness, we use Palmer's Cocoa Butter Formula Body and Face Lotion for Men. It offers hard-hitting protection that locks in moisture and shuts down dryness. Palmer's provides the ultimate defense against rough, dry skin, leaving it smooth with a fresh scent.
Palmer's Cocoa Butter Formula Body and Face Lotion for Men. Perfect formula.
Extraordinary results.
Try Palmer's Jar for Men. It provides serious moisture for the hands, elbows, and knees.
It doesn't take much to be happy. When you enjoy the simplest and truest things, asking for nothing more than what you've got. Look at your swimming pools. They'll never be enough. Like your fancy watches and your big cars, one day you realize that what matters is not the size of your car. It's the size of your yacht.
IndyCar heads to Houston for 2 full days of racing. 100-degree heat raging through the Texas flood. It's a doubleheader under the southern sun. The Shell and Pennzoil Grand Prix of Houston, all weekend long on NBCSN.
All summer long, the best horses will race to earn a spot in the richest event in horse racing. The Breeders' Cup Challenge Series continues with the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, Saturday on NBCSN.
Earlier today, Jimmy Johnson was in the nation's capital. President Barack Obama welcomed the 6-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion and his team members to the White House to be honored for their 2013 championship. Certainly an honor for those guys. Check them out. Nice picture, guys. Hey, Jeff, I want to dive into something real quick here in our mayor segment while we have some time. You know, there's all this media hand-wringing and a lot of talk on Twitter about did Dale Jr. call Matt Kenseth quick enough last night? Everybody was talking about it last night. Never mind the fact that Jr. apologized on the team radio, national TV, in the press conference. Is there a protocol with drivers saying, hey, you probably should contact a guy who's your friend if you've wrecked him by a certain amount of time?
Well, I think it depends on your relationship with the driver that you had an incident with, right? I mean, if there's a guy that you don't really care about, his opinion doesn't matter to you, maybe you don't reach out as much. If you're really close to a guy, then without a doubt you reach out to him. But it's different from driver to driver. And it really boils down to you drive them how they drive you on the racetrack. That's what the end result is, right? Well, that's what you hope for. What you hope for is that if I drive you a certain way, then you're going to drive me that same way. The problem gets into it when you drive a guy one way and